taking a peek at the infotainment system inside of the Nissan Altima. There are a few different screens that are available, but this is the 12.3 inch, and this thing is very, very loaded. But I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know. So first thing, there's a tray along the outside. You've got the first one there, which is a little notification icon. So if notifications were available in the vehicle, it would let you know. You've got your home button there, and this is going to be the home screen. And you can swipe across on the screen to get to a few different sub-screens on top of that. Kind of like it. There are tons of different options that are available. Then you've even got the option of hitting the little plus button there to be able to customize. So if you wanted to set it up with, look at that, so many unique options that are available. That's really neat. So there are a ton of different options that are available, essentially different widgetized settings. So if you wanted to customize the screen a little bit, you've got the flexibility to be able to do it. Like a little bit, a few customization options. There's a button to get into factory navigation. There's a button to get into the audio, phones, and then there's this little view, which gets you into all of your additional settings on top of that. Along the very top there, there's this little icon, which again gets you to all of the available settings. So you'll see there, different apps, different settings and things like that that are available. You've got whether or not your data connected and then the current time as well. But let's dive back home and let's go through the different options that are available. So like I said, you've got the flexibility to be able to adjust this out a little bit if you want to. So let's start off with factory navigation that is powered by Google. You do have factory nav that is very, very responsive. And then you'll see that it's got a little bullseye there. So you can kind of search around, do a drag and drop, and then wherever you kind of land there, you can then add that in as a destination if you wanted to. You could push back to center it out again. You could zoom in or out this way. You could also hide that little icon bar there if you wanted to. You could search for different options. So you can destination search. You can go to a home address, previous destinations, other destinations, so point of interest icons, intersections, look through address books and things like that. So if you have multiple people that you go to see, you can set that up instead. You can look at different saved routes. So if you go different places, you can essentially do like a turn-by-turn save right there as well. And I'll show you how that works in a second. But so many different options that are available, and you can even plus this out in order to customize it and add something in there yourself, which is pretty neat. Along the very bottom, you can do a hot button press in order to go home. So if you had your home address saved, you could push there to navigate home. You could hide this view if you wanted to. Look for gas stations, food, so essentially just different point of interest icons. You can change your heading there. So do you want to be 2D, 3D, etc. Back out to center, and then you can search for addresses. So you can search by latitude first, longitude second, so by GPS coordinates. You can just start typing in an address as well if you wanted to, or you could search by point of interest icons. So nice and Canadian of me, Tim Hortons. We've got different options available. So these are previous destinations that I've already been to. So I'm just going to go ahead and select. Perfect. Setting as a destination. And you can see there, you've got the route available now.
Proceed to the nearest road.
So all you have to do, proceed as you start driving, then you're good to go. You can cancel the route out if you want to. All destinations, one or none. So we're not going to cancel, because what we want to do is push this button in order to either add in new destinations. You can look at turn-by-turn routes, route preferences. So do you want the fastest route, the shortest route, the most energy or fuel-efficient route instead? Do you want to avoid toll roads? Do you want to avoid HOV lanes? Do you want to minimize your freeway usage and things like that? Like, there are so many things that you can avoid in your overall route, which is kind of neat. You can recalculate. So if you made any of these changes, recalculate that. Then you can either edit or add to your route. So if you wanted to add in a waypoint or a destination. So as of right now, we're going from where we are to this Tim Hortons. But let's say if you wanted to start along the way, you wanted to maybe look at gas and you wanted to fill up at a gas station. It's going to show you different options available. So let's select this one first. And we're going to add it to the route. So we've essentially created multiple routes here, which is kind of nice. So you've got the fastest option available. You can add in an additional waypoint if you wanted to. You can't do a press and hold though. That's one thing that I would have liked to have seen. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. So you can't do a press and hold, but you could select any of those options if you wanted to. So let's go back. You can add in a waypoint, but you could change the order. So let's say if maybe you wanted to go to Tim Hortons first, whatever the case may be, you can adjust it that way. What I think would probably make the most sense if you could do a drag and drop. But I mean, as you see there, we've changed up the destinations. You can add in another destination or a waypoint. So a waypoint is everything in between your final destination. So that's available. You can hit recalculate. It's going to show you the route that we need to take in order to get to where we want to go. And then you can just hit the X button to either delete all destinations or cancel them. A single destination, so the next one, if you wanted to, either one. So let's say if we no longer wanted to go to the gas station, let's cancel that. And now we're strictly going to the Tim Hortons instead. You can see there, we've got our overall route, where you can just cancel out, none, or cancel all, and it just completely destroys, it gets rid of the route there. But that's how you use factory navigation inside the vehicle. It's relatively straightforward. You've now got audio options. So for audio sources, you've got the option for AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth, USB, Apple CarPlay available, different downloadable apps. There are a ton of different things that are available. So this is a USB stick, so USB with MP3s on it. It has video, but I don't think that video is actually going to play back. Yeah, I haven't been successful. I've tried doing this so many times, but the vehicle stopped, it's in park, and video's just not playing. So it just doesn't look like the vehicle has video support, unfortunately. But you've got options. So for USB, like I said, there's different audio available. You can go AM, FM, SiriusXM, and you can see along the very bottom all of the available presets. There are so many. If you wanted to save a preset, you could tune to whatever station you want to a few ways. So you could tune this way if you want to. 94.9. Perfect, there we go, 94.9. And then if you wanted to save it as a preset, all you're going to do is just take one of the stations there, just do a push and hold. And you see there, it's now overwritten and it's saved a new preset for us. So it's straightforward actually setting up presets. Once they're set though, they are set, but you could do an FM list. So if you wanted to see all of the available stations based off of an area. So if you're new to an area, not sure what you can listen to, you can go there in order to be able to see. When you're in SiriusXM, you'll have a few other options available, so you can browse slightly differently, so all of your category views as well. Very useful if you're a SiriusXM listener. Then there's a notification icon there. So if you're a big fan of either the song or the artist, you can get a notification letting you know when either of these have come on. You can confirm or manage all of your previously selected or saved notifications. It's straightforward there, I like that. Yeah, look at that. So many different presets that are available inside the vehicle. It's kind of wild, but all different sources that are available. Like I said, a lot of different options, which next up brings us into phone. So as of right now, there are no phones that are currently connected. So it's bringing us into this individual screen. So let's go ahead and look at setting up a phone. So as of right now, you've got just this single phone. So let's do this. I'm going to start fresh. Yes. Perfect. Phone is now deleted and there are currently no phones connected to the vehicle. So in order to add in a device, we're going to hit add device. On your phone, you're going to pull up and you're going to wait for, there we go, my Altima to show up. And let's connect through. Pins match up, so let's pair. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? I'm going to say no because this isn't my car. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes there. And this is the best part. So this screen does have support for wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but it's also backwards compatible. So if you wanted to use a USB cable instead, you could. You just have to make sure that if it's a USB cable, it's a USB cable with data support. So it needs to have the data transfer icon on it or else it won't transfer data properly in most cases. But like I said, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So let's go ahead and use CarPlay. Would you like to use CarPlay with the device? Yes. And it should take a second there. Yeah, so we're just connecting through. Boom, look at that. Fully connected, which is great. And it launched me right into Waze, but you've got a ton of different options that are available inside the vehicle for apps. So fairly responsive there. It's a little bit slow, but still, I mean, it's nice. You've got Apple CarPlay wirelessly, which is great. But along the outside tray, so this tray is always going to show, that's the main vehicle tray. You've got the Apple CarPlay display. So you've got current time for CarPlay, your connection level, battery level, what map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last. And then you've got either the home screen or the icon view, but you can switch in between to get to these options. Doesn't matter if it's Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze. They don't have pinch to zoom capabilities on any of them. So you have to go in and out this way. You can search for addresses, look at previous destinations. Apple CarPlay, I should say Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze, they're all the same. So no pinch to zoom capabilities, but there's drag and drop capabilities. You can push along the top for route options on Google Maps, so avoid highways, toll roads, and ferries. Look at all of your different options for map colors, change the volume settings out as well. And then Waze, same idea. So you've got your little Waze icon there. So if you wanted to tell people of police, hazards, things like that. And back home, but like I said, so many different options that are available. Live ones are radio apps, so that's available and playable through this as well. There are different apps like Hoopla is a library app. YouTube Music is available. But video, unfortunately, not available inside the vehicle. That's like one thing I would love to see. You can push the little Nissan icon to get back to the home screen if you wanted to. And then when you do, you can push the CarPlay button to hop back into CarPlay instead. So back home, into CarPlay. So very straightforward. And then on your phone, if you go into your settings, general, and then CarPlay, you're going to have your Altima. You can forget the car, you can customize, and then you can turn CarPlay off while the phone is locked. But let's look at customizing. So let's say if you love listening to your podcasts and maybe you're a big fan of having Google Maps first, you can adjust this out if you want to. You could also delete things. So you just hit delete and remove, and it fully removes them from the screen, but it still has them at the bottom. So you could add them back in if you wanted to. So you can see there, they are added back in, but if you've kind of played around with this too much and you don't like what you've done, you can just hit reset in order to bring this back to the Apple CarPlay factory default screen there instead. So it's straightforward. You can push the little button there if you wanted to get back to the settings screen or back home instead, and button press there to launch back into CarPlay. Now, if you hit the little gear icon along the very top and look at all settings, a lot of different options that are available. Go to connections, and you've got the phone that's currently connected, and it's connected through CarPlay. So if you wanted to, you could disconnect from CarPlay by pushing this. Takes a few seconds, and what it's doing is disconnecting from CarPlay, reconnecting to Bluetooth, and that's Bluetooth for a few different options. So for the audio, or sorry, I should say for phone calls, and then for audio as well. So you can kind of do a mix and match there. You can hit the little info icon in order to show that CarPlay is active, inactive. Do you want to have different startup options and things like that? It's kind of nice. Active, inactive. So again, yeah, you could have the phone set up. So for hands-free calling or for Bluetooth audio. So you can kind of do like a little mix and match there instead. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of the Nissan Altima. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. So if you weren't on the connection screen, if your phone was connected, you can connect through there, but I'm currently connected to the iPhone. So all you're gonna do is, actually along the top, you go to your settings, and typically you won't see the device connection screen there, but you're gonna go settings, connections, and then you've got your different connection options there. You can set things as a favorite if there's multiple phones connected, but we're looking for adding in a device. So don't display that. Not overly exciting. I'll show you what that means in just a sec, but what we're looking for, same idea as my Altima, so just waiting for it to show up. There we go. Pins, perfect. Okay, this does happen sometimes. I do find that it happens specifically on Android sometimes, but we'll just go back. Oh, there it is, perfect. Pairing request. Yes, we want to pair, and look at that. Do you want to allow access to messages? I'm going to say no to that. Contacts, say no again, because this isn't my car. And would you like to use wireless Android Auto? Yes, we do. Requires Wi-Fi. Do we want to deactivate? Yes. And that's one thing. So Android Auto, Apple CarPlay actually go over a Wi-Fi connection, so they're not Bluetooth. So you can't be connected to Bluetooth on one and then Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, whatever the case may be. So it's essentially either or of those. But you've got Android Auto available as well. And I mean, as you can see there, nice stretched across the screen, very similar functionality to what we were looking at in the iPhone side of things. So you've got your little gear icon for Google Maps along the very top. You could avoid things on the route. You could plus or minus, but one thing that I like about Google Maps is that it's pinch to zoom on Android Auto, which is great. So very straightforward. You've got your different settings there. You've got your little icon view instead. So if you wanted to go to this little split view, you can push there for your Google Assistant. You can do a longer press and hold on the steering wheel to activate your Google Assistant that way instead. And you've got a ton of different apps that are available. One thing to note is that this phone does have Waze installed. But I mean, as you can see there, Waze is not showing up. So if you're in that situation where Waze is installed, but it's not showing up, I've put a little walkthrough video together you can find in the description that actually talks you through the process of how to actually set it up. But I mean, it's straightforward there. Along the bottom, you've got your current time, date, and connection level. You can go back to your little home screen there, or the little split or the icon view instead. You could do fuller screen maps just by pushing the map button along the top there, or the bottom, I should say. Yeah, like I said, pinch to zoom capabilities. So responsive. Love it. It's really good. You can search for addresses that way instead, and then just back home. You do have the flexibility to customize the tray layout there as well, but it's not dynamic. So on your phone, you're going to search for Android Auto, look for Android Auto settings, and connect through. You've got a series of different options that are available, but the one that we're looking for is going to be customizing the launcher. So you've got the flexibility to customize this. So if you wanted to, you can do a drag and drop in order to move things around. You can add different things back into the screen, same idea, drag and drop. But it's not dynamic like it was on the iPhone side of things. You can see there I'm dragging and dropping and it's not actually updating. So in order to have these changes come into effect, so if you've made some moves, what you have to do is actually get out of Apple CarPlay, or Android Auto, I should say. So let's go, and we're going to go to Connections, and you're just going to disconnect. Let's toggle that off. Perfect. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So we're disconnecting from the Galaxy, and we're now going to reconnect to Android Auto. So it'll take a second there. Let's just get rid of that message. Not overly important. Perfect. So connected to Android Auto. Let's push the button there to hop back inside. Android Auto to our newly customized launcher. So that's how you can customize Android Auto inside the vehicle, which is straightforward. Then if we go back home into settings now and connections, you've got both phones that are connected. So you can set one as a favorite. So it's essentially, if you've got both phones in the vehicle, it's who gets connection priority. So you can have one versus the other if you wanted to, and it's connection priority for what? So you can have one getting connection priority for audio, for phone, whatever the case may be. And that's one other really nice thing is that, let's say if you wanted to, let's disconnect Android Auto. You can have one set up. There we go. And back. This is what I want. So you can have one set up essentially if you wanted to for phone calls and for audio, but you can have the other one set up for this as well. So let's say, that's what I'm looking for. Two phones connected. So let's say if you have one for your phone calls, the other for audio, you can do a mix and match there. So it can be either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both, but you can have essentially a mix and match of these four icons, which is great. If you wanted to delete a phone, you're going to go to this screen, delete, and yes. First phone's been deleted, and let's delete that iPhone as well. So it just takes a second, and other phone, let's go, and delete, yes. And deleted. So it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of Nissan vehicles. So that's setting up a phone. Next up is this little view in order to get to different apps. So again, you've got notifications, which nothing available. Nissan Connect services, so using the vehicle as a wireless hotspot. You can download apps. You can look at downloaded apps, TomTom weather if you wanted to. Where am I? GPS location. So that's a useful one. So if you're traveling around and you get lost or you're off-road, whatever the case may be, you could then call a tow truck and let them know your latitude and longitude to let people know where you actually are. Very useful. Then there's info for system information. So your basics for SiriusXM, the current software version that you're on as well. And that's the basics for apps. Then you've also got your settings icon along the very top. And settings, there are a ton of different options available here. So starting off from the beginning, you've got your connections. And again, that's for things like Bluetooth audio, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. A few phones have been connected there. And then Wi-Fi as well. So you can connect your vehicle to a Wi-Fi network. Vehicle hotspot. So again, having that data connection in order to use your vehicle as a hotspot. USB connected, whether or not that's the case. And that's that. If a phone was connected, you'd be able to pull into your different phone options. Series of different options for navigation. So for your map, do you want to be heading up, 3D, etc.? Do you want to show the fuel prices, yay or nay? It's kind of nice. I like how they do that, kind of nice fade in and out effect. Do you want to show point of interest icons, and which ones do you want showing? Fast food, gas stations, all right, let's get rid of that. Leisure, lodging, nightlife in Whitby. Oh yeah, there we go. Post office, parking, and so many different options. So it's essentially what's showing up inside of that media screen, specifically for the navigation. Do you want to show a split screen, yay or nay? With split screen, how do you want it to look? So map orientation for your split screen during a route. What do you want showing up? So full map or turn-by-turn list. That actually can be kind of useful. I'll show you what that one looks like in just a second. Split screen. Okay, wow, so many options. You can fully customize a ton of different things. You can change out the map text size, so that's useful. So if you're a little bit, like if your vision's not the greatest, you can go for larger, smaller icons if you want to. Tracking dots is a useful one. So if you're new to an area, if you're going off-road, or let's say if you're going trails and things like that, the tracking dots essentially looks like breadcrumbs. So think of Hansel and Gretel. So it leaves little dots in areas that you've been. So you can kind of track where you've been. Very useful. And I think that's it. So for basics for map settings, routing preferences, do you want the fastest, the shortest, or the most eco-friendly route? Do you want to minimize your toll roads, ferries, carpool lanes, and so many other things? Voice guidance, do you want your turn-by-turn directions, yay or nay? So coming over speaker to let you know of when you're turning, and how loud do you want it to be? If there's traffic, do you want to get an announcement? Toll booth, whether or not that happens, yes or no? Let's see, I think that's the basics for navigation there. So I wanted to show you, because we did a split screen. There we go. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, I don't know if I like it like that. What have we done? We've created a monster. Okay, hold on. We're going to go look at previous destinations for a second. So let's go previous destinations. Let's at least see if this looks better. Okay, that's kind of cool. All right, so yeah, so those turn-by-turn directions are pretty neat. I'd probably still actually go back and do the main. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that split. The split screen's okay, don't get me wrong, it's okay. I don't like it as much as I thought it would though. Whatever, that's okay though. But let's go back into our little settings there. So you've got your navigation, sounds and beeps. Sound, this is where you're going to adjust your treble mid-range bass. So typically what I'd recommend is you want your bass up by a few points, and like treble up by 1 or 2 typically gives you good sound. Speed sensitive volumes, so as you're going faster or slower, it's automatically going to raise the volume up for you or lower it. Do you want this on the driver, back seat, etc.? Actually, you can't even do a drag. That's what I'd like to see, just a drag and drop, but you can at least move it around this way. So you're essentially your balance and fade. Basic vehicle, oh, there we go. Beeping. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. So you could toggle that beep off if you want to, and then you can adjust all of your different audio levels there too. So ringtones, whether you have an incoming phone call, your guidance volumes, what do you want these different options to be? System voice, when you hit the voice command prompt.
Please say or select a command. Canceling voice recognition.
So you got your initial prompt versus it just pops on. Yeah. So I would definitely say the one thing, get rid of that initial prompt. Do we want shorter voice prompts? Yes. Do you want a male or female voice? Do you want it talking faster or slower? Oh, hello, Nissan.
Canceling voice recognition.
That's pretty cool. So rather than pushing the voice command prompt, you can just say that word or those words in order to be able to activate your assistant instead. And system updates. You can, map update right through the screen. That's super useful. Oh, okay, never mind. All right, so you can update it by USB device, by Wi-Fi as well. So if you're connected to a Wi-Fi network at home, you'd be able to update. You could be able to update maps over Wi-Fi. Really cool. Map update settings based off of your region, auto, etc. Software updates and things like that. So yeah, you can download all of the updates yourself if you want to. You can adjust the clock out. Do you want the clock showing, yay or nay? Clock mode, 3 different options. So there's either manual mode, auto, or time zone based. So manual mode means that you could set the clock yourself if you want to. So daytime clock. When you're in the auto mode, it's going to take everything into account. So your time zone, daylight savings time, etc. But if you're in the time zone mode, if you're straddling a time zone and it constantly flips between one or the other, you can permanently lock yourself out to a specific time zone if you wanted to. You can customize menus and things like that right through the home screen. There's a series of general settings, so if you wanted to tweak up the display a little bit, so you can toggle this on or off. There's a button down the center there. I'll show you those in just a second. You can adjust your brightness, your contrast, your black levels. Really make it your own. For your language, do you want to be in either English, French, or Spanish? Your units, do you want to be in either kilometers or miles? And then do you want to be in either Celsius or Fahrenheit as well? Keyboard, QWERTY, or ABCD. You can return back to factory defaults there. And you've got Nissan Connect, nothing exciting. Camera settings, switch, nothing overly exciting, but that's for the backup camera specifically. So you can adjust the brightness, contrast, tints, and black levels, and things like that. It's nice. So you can customize quite a few things here, which is kind of nice. And then, as I mentioned, so along the bottom of the screen, you've got a few other options. So you've got the flexibility of going into a night mode if you want to, doing a little bit of a press and hold in order to turn this into more of a calming screen instead. Back on, or back off, I should say there, and then button press, and then press in order to resume the display instead. It's good. You've got these buttons in order to jump between different stations or presets. So if we go back to our audio there, you could jump between different stations that way. You could toggle the audio on or off this way. There's a volume rocker, and then your camera button to get back to that basic camera screen. So I know that's a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the infotainment system inside of the Nissan Altima.